Well, if you are one of the 47 million people currently using the federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to put food on your family's plate each night, you're going to want to listen to this. As you probably know, right now Congress is in the process of debating the 2014 budget, and all the attention is focusing on Republican plans to permanently defund Obamacare. But Republicans in the House of Representatives are also in the process of passing a bill that would cut the federal food stamp program by nearly $40 billion over the next 10 years. The Nutrition Reform and Work Opportunity Act would cut nearly twice as much as was originally proposed by the House Farm Bill. If passed, the Congressional Budget Office says 3.8 million people would be cut from the program by next year, and numerous others would have their benefits reduced. And all of this is in addition to significant cuts that will begin in November. I was joined earlier by Bikha Baum, Director of Policy and Advocacy, as well as Research at the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies. And I asked her how the arguments played out in the House.
You know, the fact is that we do have 47 million Americans who are hungry and in need. They've lost their jobs during the Great Recession. They have had their hours reduced. Many have had to declare bankruptcies. And then, of course, you have the elderly who are impoverished. They have a very fixed income. So really all these debates in the House about cutting such a lifeline in our country needs to be based upon the facts of who are the hungry and what the extensive need is out there.
And one of the major criticisms that Republican lawmakers say is that there's rampant fraud and abuse for these SNAP programs. First of all, is there any proof of this major abuse? And if so, would cutting spending help solve that problem?
You know, that is a complete myth. It's untrue. The federal data, government data, has consistently shown that the food stamp or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program has very, very low fraud. It has a very high quality control measures. And so that is not at all a fact to go on. We have a situation where the government data that just came out, the census data, shows about 46.5 million Americans who are impoverished. Now, that's roughly the same number, 47 million of Americans who rely on the food stamp program. So the fact is that the people who are impoverished, who are in need based upon government data, are the same ones that are receiving the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And so anybody who's talking about fraud is just not looking at the facts. We have a situation where not only do we want to make sure that this vital lifeline to hungry Americans is maintained, we also have the fact that food stamps help the economy. It's money going to people who are going to spend it immediately to put food on the table for their children and themselves. So it helps to keep the slow recovery continuing. If we cut $40 billion from this program, you're going to have stores, grocery stores, bodegas in these very struggling communities have that economic source of economic engine be stopped immediately, and that's just something that makes no sense.
At the same time, however, Fox News interviewed a surfer who was using SNAP benefits to buy lobster and sushi, and that story got many people riled up. Do you think that is representative of how the food assistance program is being used?
You know, you always see conservatives bring out that one oddball case, that one very rare case that usually gets caught by the various food and welfare agencies immediately. They have very stringent rules and reporting requirements. So I myself, as a child, was on food stamps with my family when we were immigrants and refugees from the war coming to this country, and we had nothing but basically the clothes on our backs. So we are much more representative of, again, the 47 million people by federal poverty data showing that these are people in need. And we can't be diverted from the immense need out there by one odd case that is just not representative of the rest of the country.
And finally, do you expect this bill to pass?
Well, we are very concerned because so many cuts have already happened at the federal level as well as the city and state level. And so these are very, very serious threats. And it seems that some of the policymakers in Washington, D.C. are not seeing their neighbors, and even within their extended family, perhaps, the hardships that they're going through. So when you have that kind of policymaker who's out of touch with the real lives of people, then it's a real threat.
Thank you so much for joining us and for weighing in. Bikha Pam, she's the Director of Policy and Advocacy and Research at the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies.